If you're interested in becoming a digital nomad or going on some long-term travels, you've probably wondered exactly how much money you need in your bank account before actually making that transition. In this video, I'm going to share exactly how much money I saved and how long it took me to save it before I hopped on that plane to embark on my international travels. And honestly, you might be surprised by my numbers. So no matter where you are on your journey of becoming a fully remote long-term traveler, stick around because this video is going to help you move forward on your journey with confidence. Hey everyone, Paige here from The True Voyager, and welcome back to my channel where I share about my experiences with solo travel, spirituality, and pursuing a life of passion, purpose, and freedom. Last year, I left my corporate 9-to-5 to become a digital nomad, and I'm here to help you do the same by sharing about my journey. You may have noticed that my channel is brand new, so if you're feeling the vibe, do me a solid and go ahead and hit like and subscribe so that YouTube will show my videos to more awesome people just like you. All right, well, thanks for being here and let's get into it. So maybe you've only started thinking about becoming a digital nomad or a long-term traveler and you're still at home living paycheck to paycheck. Or maybe you already have some money in the bank and you're pretty sure that you're ready to take the leap, but you're not quite positive if you have enough cushion. Regardless of where you're at, upending your entire life, leaving your day job and packing your entire life into a suitcase to go become a full-time traveler is no small feat. I'm not going to pretend like it's not a major life transition, especially if you're somebody who hasn't done much traveling before. But if you're like me and want to plan for your travels in a way that feels tangible and safe for your nervous system, I highly recommend some methodical and intentional planning on the front end. And of course, we're talking about money. And the more money you have in your bank account when you leave, the more easeful and relaxed your travel experience is going to be. That being said, we're all wired differently, and some of us might need less planning than others. Some people just buy a one-way ticket, grab a backpack, fly by the seat of their pants, and start traveling with just a couple $100s in their pocket. And if that's you, hey, more power to you. I truly admire all of you adventurous, risk-taking travelers out there. And honestly, if I had started traveling in my early 20s, I might have done it that way too. I also believe that we live in a truly benevolent world, one in which the universe is always looking out for us. And I think embarking on your travels with this kind of frame of mind is a great way to stay centered, to trust your journey, and to invite more prosperity into your life. But we also live in a very physical, three-dimensional reality. Life is also life, full of ups and downs, twists and turns, and unexpected surprises, especially while traveling. And by being as best prepared for these surprises as you can be, you're simply setting yourself up for success and giving yourself some peace of mind. Okay, so let's talk about money. When I first started thinking about becoming a digital nomad, I truly had no concept of exactly how much money I should have in my bank account before actually leaving and making the transition. Again, we're all wired differently, and in regards to how much money you should have saved up, there's a lot of conflicting information out there on the topic. Even with friends and family, everybody's got a different opinion. And keep in mind, some people are going to project their own fears and insecurities about money and travel onto you. For example, when I finally told my mom about my plan to travel internationally, and when she finally realized that I was actually serious about it, she kind of freaked out. And one of her biggest concerns was that I wasn't going to have enough money saved up. You see, her ideal financial figure, one that would make her feel safe if she were to go traveling, was a lot higher than mine. And there really were a few weeks where I had to talk things through with her and answer all of her questions and really assure her that I was going to have enough money and that everything was going to be okay. Now, I love my mom very much. It's just that I had to intentionally separate her feelings and fears and insecurities from my experience. I knew that she had never done much traveling in her life, and I also knew that in general, she's a much more cautious person than I am. And so I had to take all of that into consideration. All that to say, at the end of the day, only you are going to be able to know what the right number is for you. But there's a few things to consider and get clear on to help you land on a figure that's actually going to be appropriate for you and your specific needs. So here's a few questions to ask yourself. Question number 1, do you have a way to generate income while you're traveling? In this scenario, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that word right. Let me know in the comments. Do you say scenario or scenario? But anyway, if this is you, I would say that this is a scenario where you need less of a cushion once you embark on your travels. In my opinion, this is the most ideal situation. This is my current situation. And I say that it's the most ideal because it gives you the most freedom and flexibility as you have that steady cash flow coming in and you have an open-ended itinerary. And actually, let me know down in the comments what your current situation is and like where you're at on your travel journey. I'd love to know. But if you have that consistent income coming in, it's obviously less of a big deal that you have a huge amount of money saved up on the front end because you have that consistent income coming in every week or two. And really, depending on how secure and consistent that income is, that's potentially thousands of dollars less that you need to save up front. But if you aren't going to have a steady income while you're traveling, then this next question is for you. Question number 2, how long are you traveling for? So if your travel plans aren't indefinite, you're going to want to think about how long you're going to be traveling. Is it 3 months, 6 months, 2 years? Taking this into consideration, you're going to create a budget of roughly how much you think you'll spend every month. And obviously, if you don't have income coming in while you're traveling, you're going to need more money in the bank up front before you leave. And the longer you travel for, the more money you're going to need. So that leads me to question number 3. What kind of travel experience do you want to have? Depending on your desired locations, your preferences, and your spending habits, your monthly budget could vary greatly. Certain countries are much cheaper than others, and accommodation prices vary greatly depending on the region and the time of year. But it's totally possible to travel on a budget of around $1,000 per month, depending on where you go and what kind of accommodations you choose. And of course, on the higher end, you could easily be spending $4,000 or $5,000 per month. If you're traveling through Northern Europe, for example, prices of food and accommodation can literally be 4 times higher there than more affordable regions like the Balkans or Eastern Europe. And if you're traveling to Southeast Asia, the prices there are going to be insanely cheap compared to other places like Scandinavia or the UK, for example. So it's really all about your personal preferences and what's realistic for you. Take some time to do some research of your top destinations and compare pricing for your desired travel lifestyle. I encourage you specifically to compare prices for food, accommodation, transportation, and local experiences, and then come up with a rough figure of how much you think you'll spend each month. Okay, so now that we've covered different factors to consider and some questions to ask yourself before finally landing on a number of money to have in that bank account, I'm going to share a little bit about my personal experience. When I was getting ready to take the leap and I was finalizing all my last minute travel plans, I was already working as a freelance copywriter. And at that point, I'd already been working remotely for half a year, and I had a few clients that were paying me enough to start traveling for at least 5 to 6 months. Since the work that I do is freelance, I don't know exactly how long I'll be working with a client. So in my situation, there still was a little bit of ambiguity in terms of how long I would have that current income for. But having launched my online business as a virtual assistant and copywriter last year, I was confident that I was going to continue to have new clients even if my current contracts ended. So that did give me some flexibility in how much I wanted to save before leaving. Okay, so at this point, you're probably like, okay, we get it, Paige. We just want to know how much money you had in your bank account. And I hear that, but I just wanted to make sure that you had the full context of what goes into a decision like this. And I wanted you to understand the complexity and nuance of choosing a figure that's right for you. But yes, the purpose of this video is obviously to tell you how much money I had in my bank account before I left. So drum roll, please. So when I actually said goodbye to my friends and family and got on that plane, I had $8,000 in the bank. And it took me about 6 months to save up that $8,000. Now, keep in mind, when I left, I did have that consistent income coming in from my VA copywriting business. And I also had sold most of my belongings, like all my furniture, a huge amount of my clothes, and I sold my car. So all of that contributed to how much I had ultimately saved before I left. At the time of this video, I've been traveling for almost 6 months, and that initial savings of $8,000 combined with the steady income that I have coming in has been enough to sustain me and allow me to travel through Europe with comfort and ease, honestly. Now, you might be wondering if my amount is an amount that's going to work for you. And honestly, only you're going to be able to make that decision for yourself. I would say if you are planning on traveling for 3 to 6 months on a budget without any steady income, you could absolutely embark on your long-term travels with $8,000 in the bank. If you're going to be traveling on a shoestring budget like visiting cheaper countries, staying in hostels every night, eating super cheap street food, and like really pinching your pennies, you might even be able to get away with having even less money saved up. The same would be true if you're transitioning to a digital nomad lifestyle and you already have steady and substantial income coming in. Like in my situation, I think I probably could have gotten away with having a little bit less in the bank, but I had what I had and it made me feel really good and comfortable and cushy to have the amount that I did. But again, it really depends on you. It depends on your personal situation. It depends on your preferences, because only you are going to know what amount feels safe for you and like what amount might feel not so safe and a little bit more risky. I would say like the most important thing in terms of how much money to have in your bank account at any given time, like once you start traveling, you just want to make sure that you have enough for emergencies. Like you never know what's going to happen. And most importantly, you want to have enough in your bank account to buy a one-way plane ticket back to your home country, because I would say the last thing you want to have happen to you is to be stuck in a foreign land with no money and no way to get back home. So don't let that happen to you. All right. That's it. I hope that you found value out of what I've shared today. And again, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you are interested in becoming a digital nomad, check out this video here or here, where I share explicitly about making the transition from my corporate 9-to-5 to becoming a digital nomad. And I walk you through my step-by-step process and I show you how I did it in literally 6 months. So definitely check that out. Otherwise, just want to thank you again for being here and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.